Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about when an ex moves to a different place or a different area. So, there are a lot of things and reasons that breakups happen. And one of those things has to do with moving. Moving to a different city, a different state, a different country. And, there can be a lot of different things, a lot of different reasons that cause somebody to have to move. Could be something with their career or their family, their friends, maybe their dreams and hopes. I had a call recently where the girl wanted to go to Europe for a couple of years and really wanted to do that, and he didn't want to do that. He wanted to stay here, and that caused the breakup, or it was a huge part of the reason they broke up. So we see a lot of different breakups because of things like this. And obviously this can be a very specific, unique type of breakup. And, because it doesn't happen very often, so it's something that we wind up talking about in calls, how to navigate that. But we want to talk about it in a video today. So you guys can hear some of the things that we see and maybe how to handle stuff like that.
And we know that sometimes moving to a different area, a different city, a different country can be psychologically motivated. So meaning that there could be other factors going on emotionally, mentally, that cause us and drive us to want to change our scenery.
Okay.
So it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The very first one we are going to start with is if somebody is accustomed to a really mobile life. So this can look like if somebody had in their childhood maybe a parent who was a part of the military. And so they constantly moved around as a kid. You hear these stories sometimes of people who have been to like 10 different high schools or, 12 different middle schools.
I had a friend like that.
Yeah.
She wound up moving like 12 times in like 3 years.
That's wild.
In high school. So we had been friends in like 9th and 10th grade, and before like she graduated, she moved like 12 times. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is wild. And so for some people, they're used to that pattern of constantly, every 6 months or every year moving to a different apartment, to a different house. And so sometimes that pattern can follow somebody into adult life where they feel very uncomfortable being in one place for a long period of time just because they've never experienced that type of stability. Another really good example of this is if you guys have ever seen the movie The Glass Castle. But it's basically a movie that talks about a child who lives in this dysfunctional family where there's substance abuse involved in the parents and they're nomadic. So they're constantly traveling, and I think they live out of their car for a period of time in the movie. But it also follows the children as they grow up, and I think it's actually based on a true story. But the idea is sometimes our experiences in our childhood can affect our adult life, which then end up affecting our relationships. You can imagine that it's very difficult to maintain a long and stable relationship if you're constantly moving. Yeah.
So, when you're accustomed to that, it just feels familiar. Another one that we see is the avoidance and the geographical cure.
Ooh.
Right? And what does that mean? Well, a lot of times people have this belief that if they change where they're at, it will help them with their mental state or their issues. And they really have these fantasies of if I just go to this place, life's going to be great. Now, it's possible that happens, but in many cases, it doesn't work like that. You may have heard the saying, wherever you go, there you are. If you really think about it, what does that mean? Well, you go to all these places, wherever it is, it's you. And whatever issues you have are going to go with you, or many of those issues will go with you. Now, sometimes it's different. Maybe you're moving away from a toxic family or something like that, or getting, something different in your life that you're really wanting. But in many cases, it's just a fantasy. I've heard so many breakups. She wants to move to Ohio with her 2 friends, and they're going to live in a van for the next 6 months, and she thinks it's going to be great. I mean, that was like one that I remember from a couple of years ago. It's like, I'm sure that's going to go great.
Well, it's different, for every person and their desires to move and how they want to move. I think that's a great example that it's not always going to look like they're moving to a set place. Sometimes it is just a year or two of just going off, exploring, traveling, going to wherever they feel like in the moment.
That just reminded me, I have another one I did with a girl maybe like a month ago. This girl was great, and she really had her life together. She was, very sweet, very pretty, very thoughtful, very smart, and she just had everything going for her. And her boyfriend, who didn't make good money, he didn't have a good career, his fantasy, I'm not making this up, was to live in an RV in the Walmart parking lot. That was his idea. That's why he left her, was because he wanted to go live in the Walmart parking lot in an RV.
Wow. And I think this idea is becoming really popular of being like a nomad in this RV van life.
The man didn't even have a place to shower. He had a nice home. His girlfriend was like a part-time model. And he's giving it all up to go live in the Walmart parking lot. I mean, and I told her, until he does it, he's going to have this fantasy that he really thinks life is better until he goes and experiences it.
Right.
And so, obviously we talked about that quite a bit, but, my point is that you can see some of these examples where people think that moving to this place, changing the environment, is going to make their life great. Now, I doubt his life is any better than it was with his great girlfriend in a nice house than he is living in a Walmart parking lot smelling like BO, and he hasn't had showers of probably weeks at a time.
I don't know. I went to a pretty hippie college, so I've seen a lot of that type of thing. And for some people, they just have more of this existential drive of I need to be free with minimal possessions, and that is how they feel the most fulfilled. But I think right there is a good example of values being different. It sounds like she wanted to continue living in a brick and mortar house, and he wanted to live in a steel van. Are vans made of steel? I don't know. But the idea here is, you start to see those incompatibilities sometimes with travel and with lifestyles and with moving where people want to live.
Well, here's the most bizarre part about it. Why do you have to break up to do that?
Yeah, true.
True. Like her, and we were talking about this, I'm like, you don't even have to break up if that's what you want to do. If you want to live in the Walmart parking lot, fine. What does that have to do with us breaking up? Just go live there and we'll see each other. You come over for a nice shower on date day.
She's like, I'll meet you at the Target, but I'm not going to Walmart.
That's where I draw the line. But, it doesn't even make any sense. Why? Because, to me, it was more so about his thought process. Because if you think about it, you don't really need to break up to even change if that's really what you want to do. Like
you're saying that he sought it more as an escape.
Yeah. That he thought his life was going to be so much better. And my point is that you don't have to break up if you really want to see what it's like to do that.
Right.
So be it, but why break up over it?
Yeah.
Didn't make sense. It's not like the Walmart was in another state that he had to go to be at a specific one.
True.
You know what I mean? It was 5 minutes from her house. So, but it just goes to show you how people think sometimes.
And along that same note, people will have this idea of a geographical cure, meaning that if I go somewhere, it will fix me, it will fix my issues. And unconsciously, what could also be going on for the avoidant, if we put this in terms of attachment theory, is if I constantly move, then I can't get too close to somebody.
That's right.
So you do see a lot of people who are pilots, for example, who are constantly on the go in different places that tend to have more avoidant attachment styles. Not saying that that's true across the board, but that's just something that I've observed. Or people who are in certain careers that require a person to move every 6 months or travel.
Yeah. So yeah, it can be more something where they're doing it to keep people at bay.
Exactly. Another huge reason as to why people move and how it affects relationships is with families. So sometimes a family will live in a different place and will be going through a crisis that they need to call upon, a family member to bring them back to take care of it. So this can look like finding out that a family member has cancer, some type of terminal illness, needs an extra amount of care and support. This can look like maybe another sibling in the family is going through some type of financial crisis and they need to go and help figure stuff out, or maybe there was a death in the family that they need to go back and help sort out. So this is more of an external reason for a breakup a lot of times. They think, okay, there's this crisis. I can't give you a date and a time of when I'm going to be back. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I just have to prioritize them for right now, and this relationship is going to need to go on the back burner while I figure this out.
It's true. Yeah, things like that do happen. Some people will just say it's about loss of attraction, but you can hear these are like, this isn't anything to do with loss of attraction. It's pretty basic stuff that I'm constantly seeing online. It's like, people are a lot more complicated and complex,
Yeah. And sometimes it will be their own financial crisis. Maybe they haven't exactly figured out their life yet, and they realize, I can't afford to live outside of my family's home, especially in today's economic climate. We see a lot more people who are older going back to live with their parents to save up money to recover financially. So that might be the case for your ex. They're thinking, okay, I'm not ready to move in with you or to, share finances together. But, I might not be exactly in the place where I want to end this, but I also feel compelled to because I have to go live with my parents. I can't afford to be here alone. So sometimes there are these gray areas there.
Absolutely. Okay, next one we want to talk about. Sometimes your ex is in a place or an age in their life where they feel like they need to go off and explore. Maybe they didn't get to do it when they were younger for whatever reason, or maybe their finances have changed or the priorities have changed, whatever has changed, and now they kind of want to travel, they want to live in a different country, they want to see what it's like to have these different experiences, to figure out who they are, and so that can have a big impact on it. Sometimes people feel like they kind of need to they've outgrown their situation and they want to see new perspectives, trying to expand their cultural awareness.
Yeah, I think traveling can be really healthy and really transformative. So a lot of times when we do see these breakups, they are not the worst type of breakups that we see. The reason being is it is a healthy drive to want to see what's out there, figure out who you are, what you want out of life, meet different people. That is a healthy drive. But
it hurts.
It does hurt. Yeah, not to say that it's easy, but it is one of the breakups where, you can really see an ex wanting to propel themselves forward. So that leaves you with a couple options, either supporting them in their journey forward or holding them back, which nobody wants to be that person.
Yeah, so, as much as you may want to be with them.
And we do see this a lot in people in their late teens or their early 20s. Another thing that we do see with this one is if they don't experience this early on in life, later on, after a divorce, sometimes after a long-term relationship breakup, then they will start having this sensation of, oh my God, I have to make up for this lost time. I have to go travel now before it's too late. Something to be aware of.
Yep.
So it can interrupt relationships, but a lot of times in these situations, that person is a lot more open to the idea of revisiting the relationship later on. We hear a lot of, I'm going to go to, Nicaragua for a year, but, I'm open to how things might change when I come back. So those are those types of situations. Not always, but...
And you don't want to put your life on hold, obviously, but, it's something that you could, consider if it lines up again in the future.
Something to be open to.
All right, another one we want to talk about is that they may want to move to a new place for career opportunities. That's a big one. Or different opportunities, bigger opportunities for them. Maybe some position opened for them in another state. That means a big raise or a big promotion. And they want to prioritize this opportunity over the romantic relationship. And it really hurts when it happens, but sometimes people do that. You have to consider if somebody's been in a career or working hard at a career for many, many years, college and internships and low-paying jobs, and they finally get a big opportunity, they may say, well, I put in so much work in this, and I've only been with you for a year, and while I do love you, I can't hold back from this career that I've been working on for the last 8-9 years of my life. So sometimes things like that happen. And maybe they're thinking, I had prioritized the relationship or a relationship in the past and it didn't work out, and I missed out on a big opportunity before, and I don't want to do that again.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So now they're determined. I'm going to stick to my guns here. I'm going to continue with this opportunity before it's too late, like it might have been in the past. And I want to remind you that everything on this list is not mutually exclusive. So it can be multiple things. They might tell you, oh, yeah, I'm moving to Ohio, in this example, for a career opportunity. But really, deep down inside and emotionally, it's the geographical cure. Oh, I'm feeling these tough emotions I don't know how to handle. I'm going to leave. I'm going to look for opportunities elsewhere. So just remember that multiple of these things that we're talking about in this video can exist at the same time.
So if you're in a situation like this where your partner is moving or your ex is moving, you may feel a big sense of urgency of, I have to do something now before they leave. If I don't do it, it's never going to turn around. And you start to panic and catastrophize and tell yourself this story that if they leave, they're never going to come back. Or if I don't do something, I'm never going to have an opportunity again. But, you have to understand that that's a big part of your own abandonment issues, and that it's not necessarily true. And you have to understand it's going to be complicated for you and for them, and that you're going to be sad and you're going to grieve it, and you may have to do it while the partner is still there before they leave. Mm-hmm. And it can be tough.
Yeah, it is complicated. It's definitely not easy. Breakups happen around traveling normally because one of the partners doesn't want to do long distance. That's the most simple way to put it. And they might see moving as a fresh start, but there's no way to bypass the grieving process. Not for you and not for your ex either. So they might think, if I move to Ohio's the place apparently. If I move to Ohio, then, I won't experience the pain of this breakup. I'll be settling in, too distracted. That might be true for a while, but there is no way to bypass that grief.
Absolutely. And you may get really tempted to move where they're going. And sometimes that's an option. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's not. But you have to be careful that you're not doing it for the wrong reasons, to stalk them. I mean, we have seen people do stuff like this. Mm-hmm. I want to move to this small village in Vienna. That I had something like this. Mm-hmm. And they go, because I want to move to this small village. If she's there, and I feel like we can be together if we're in this small village. But, it can really put somebody off, could scare them. It could feel like you're suffocating them. Mm-hmm. And, if you go there and they don't change their mind or they don't budge, you're going to be, really upset. You might feel disappointed and even devastated that it didn't go the way you were hoping it would.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So where does that leave you, and how do we move forward? That's the real question here. So I know you're probably tired of hearing us say this, but you have to focus on yourself. Right now it's difficult because they're far away, and you're going to be constantly reminded that they're not there with everything that you do. You go to places that you used to go to together, realizing, wow, they're not even in the same state anymore, or same city anymore. It can be really hard to swallow, but you have to remind yourself that they're still on the planet, they're still well and alive, they still have your number, and they still know how to reach you.
And they could change their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Moving may not be what they expected or thought it would be. And after doing it for a while, they could say, you know what, I'm not happy here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it can get complicated, obviously, because there's so many different aspects of it, like we've just covered.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And there's many others, I'm sure.
Right. And there still could be hope for reconciliation. But it's going to depend on why they moved, what are the deeper issues that are happening beneath the surface, and the quality of your relationship, how things progress.
Absolutely. All right. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here if you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.